gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They're in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Sean Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Sean Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into Kofi Paisa TV. Please like the show, share the show. Those of you who will catch the replay, much respect and love you. Appreciate the view. Also like and share the show. We're going to continue. Well, I'm going to continue a dialogue from last night because it was a conversation that continued to happen this morning in private, and we keeping it that conversation in private. But we continue the conversation, and hopefully what comes out of that conversation that we had earlier would be an opportunity to actually teach and educate the people on the position. Just keeping it that simple. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully the call to respond and to answer is heard, and that the challenge is met straight up and down. So peace to Omar, peace Pure Black, peace DC, peace Dave B, peace Infinite Minds, and all the other viewers who will be coming in to the actual conversation. I'm trying to buy a little time right now so that more people can come in and be a part of the discussion. I don't know if anybody will be joining the panel. They ain't got it, but they wanted to. They know all they got to do is sign in through the stream and they can get on instantly. Peace Rashad, peace Chavis. I don't know who cute little Susie is, but you about to get kicked out. Yeah, we won't play those games. Matter of fact, let's go on do it right now. Yeah, let's keep it a buck. We're gonna do the Aruga flow over here, yo. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. And I want to talk about something real quick before I get into the rest of the conversation. And this is all this is. This is a conversation. All right. So you should be able to see my screen. And as people come in, we'll continue to backtrack and probably educate people. However, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. She yelled an anti-Asian slur at a man on the street. Police said he was an undercover NYPD officer. She was arrested. Arrest made in an anti-Asian attack in Chinatown. This black lady right here called dude a Chinese mofo, and he called for bag up and arrested her. All right. Published April 8th, 2021. Let's deal. In the late afternoon on April 6, a woman burst into Good Choice for Nail Salon near Manhattan's Chinatown and began berating and threatening the Asian workers. "You brought coronavirus to this country. That was ignorant," she yelled. Her diatribe continued outside, where she spewed hateful remarks at an Asian person on the sidewalk. Then, with a bystander intervening, she called an Asian American man a Chinese motherfucker, according to the police. But he wasn't just another pedestrian. He was an undercover police officer. After the officer called for backup, she was arrested, identified authorities as a 50-year-old woman named Sharon Williams. She was charged with the harassment and the hate crime. She was charged with harassment as a hate crime and aggravated harassment as a hate crime. Williams cannot be reached for comment. It is unclear whether she has a lawyer. Here's a brief history, and I wanted to do this. It's a brief history of anti-racism in America. Now, before I hit play on this video, y'all already know I do not want to get the video stricken down, so I will need to do the disclaimer. Straight like that. So let me find one of my presentations where I got it on here so I actually can go ahead and do it. So here we go. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, research. Fair use is permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right, so I wanted to make sure that I get that copyright read so that we can continue to build within the dialogue. So I'm going to play this video a little bit, and I want you to realize something, and we'll move forward. I don't know if it's going to let me expand it, but we got to get past this commercial, of course. All right, so let me see if I can expand now.
Reported incidents of hate toward Asian American and Pacific Islanders.
I think we've got a lot more reports than the government would.
The incidents range from verbal harassment to physical assault.
They said, our respondents, that they didn't want necessarily individual redress. They wanted a voice to say, this is happening, and we want policies to stop it.
The deadliest attack happened on March 16th.
Some tragic news, the deadly shootings in Atlanta.
21-year-old Robert Long charged with killing 8 people in 3 separate massage parlors last night.
6 out of the 8 people killed on Tuesday night were of Asian descent.
President Trump clearly stoked the flames of xenophobia against AAPIs with his rhetoric.
Since the outbreak of the coronavirus last year, President Trump tried to shift blame from his own management of the pandemic to China.
I think we have 19 or 20 versions of the name. The Chinese flu, Wuhan virus, Kung flu.
When President Trump insisted on using the term Chinese virus, it racialized the virus. It wasn't just biological, it was Chinese. And he stigmatized Chinese people as the carriers of the disease.
This, unfortunately, is not the first time China or Chinese Americans are being blamed for a disease, and racism and violence against Asians has always come in waves throughout U.S. history.
So you can see that in the plague outbreak in San Francisco in 1900, because the first person in San Francisco to die of plague was a Chinese American. They were sort of blamed and scapegoated for the outbreak, even though the outbreak likely came from Hawaii aboard an American-Australian ship. There were other plague outbreaks, and later on in 1907 and 1908, but because they weren't in the Chinese community, they were squashed much more quickly and taken more seriously by authorities.
Even outside of a virus outbreak, The U.S. is no stranger to anti-Asian racism. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act banned Chinese immigration for 10 years.
Even after that, there were very strict guidelines for allowing Chinese people into the United States that weren't repealed until 1943.
But around the same time, soon after Pearl Harbor, FDR signed an executive order that forced 120,000 Japanese Americans into internment camps. This policy lasted 4 years. In 1982, in Highland Park, Michigan, 2 white men targeted and beat to death 29-year-old Chinese American Vincent Chin because he was Asian. The judge gave the men probation and a $3,000 fine. Anti-Asian racism has been an invisible stain in American history. It is often overlooked or minimized.
The Asian American community is left out of public conversation around racial justice. And that's what's unique about this moment that I think you're seeing, unfortunately, because of these gruesome attacks, a movement sort of building among Asian Americans.
But what I've seen Asian Americans do, and which is actually encouraging in this dark moment, is that you can go into flock mode, right? You can go to flight or fight mode, or you could flock. And that's when you gather together to protect each other, when you gather together and stand up to whatever threats you're experiencing. And I see that.
All right, so you saw that. Now let's continue. The incident, which was first reported at WLNY, is the latest in a surge of attacks on Asian Americans throughout the country and comes weeks after shootings at 3 spas in Atlanta. So the New York has seen a stark rise as well, with at least 35 anti-Asian hate crime reports already this year. The New York Times reported as opposed to 28 all last year. Last month, authorities charged 26-year-old homeless man with a hate crime and an alleged punching of an Asian man. Last week, 38-year-old man who allegedly assaulted a 65-year-old Asian American woman, pushing her down and stomping on her, received 3 hate crimes. To address the surge, the NYPD created an 18-member Asian hate crime task force last year. 2 weeks ago, the commissioner announced the department would increase its outreach to Asian communities and deploy plainclothes Asian American officers. All right. So moral of the story, in the thick of thieves, this black lady called the police officer a Chinese motherfucker, and she gets arrested and charged with hate crimes. Her. So that is the gist of what is going on. Now, let's move on. I want to get into something a little bit more specific. Of course, all the sources are in the description. I want to go to specifically an article in Wiki that's called Interminority Racism in the United States. And when you go down, you want to deal specifically with the Rodney King incidents or the middleman theory, so you can understand that a little bit more. But let's deal with the Rodney King incidents. Let's go right here to Rodney King's riot. Los Angeles, leading up to 1992, had a large number of Korean Americans. As people migrated from Korea during and after Korean War, many moved to settle in Los Angeles, but could not work in the same traditional white-collar jobs they held back home. Instead, many opened up businesses in areas where the rent was cheap in predominantly African-American communities. Korean Americans and African American community leaders soon realized that tension exists predominantly due to differences in culture as well as language barrier. This came to a head during the era of the riots as Korean grocer Soon Ja-doo shot and killed a black teenage girl in her store and received a remarkable milder sentence compared to other sentences given by the judges at the time to African Americans in the judicial system. Now, relationships worsened during the Rodney King riots, and protesters hit 2,200 Korean small businesses. African Americans felt cheated by the judicial system, as they had faced much more stringent punishments for charges involving armed weapon, while Korean Americans felt targeted and attacked by African American communities for having their businesses destroyed. This led to Korean Americans being divided by those who felt abandoned by the police and those who felt threatened by African Americans in their community. So let's go to Soo Jong-doo, because many people have forgotten about Latasha Harlins. But see, we didn't, because I brought this up maybe a year or two ago on Facebook, remembering Latasha Harlins and what sparked that whole inconvenience. So she was a 15-year-old Black girl who unlawfully was killed by Soo Jung-do, a 51-year-old Korean-American convenience store owner. Do was tried and convicted of voluntary manslaughter in her death. Although the maximum sentence was 16 years, the judge sentenced Do to 5 years of probation, 400 community service hours, and 500 restitution and funeral expenses. The death of Latasha Harden was recorded on security footage, and the later sentencing failed appeal and considering to have contributed to the 92 race riots. All right. So let's go to Harlan. Nah, let's stay right here. Let's stay right here. Let's go. So Do testified on behalf of herself, claiming that the shooting was in self-defense and that she believed her life was in danger from a 15-year-old girl. But her testimony was contradicted by statements of 2 witnesses present at the time, as well as her own store security camera video, which showed Do shooting Harlan in the back of the head as the teenager turned away from Do and attempted to leave the store. The LA Police Department ballistics report also found that the handgun Do used was altered in such a way that it required much less pressure on the trigger to fire than an ordinary handgun. So what actually sparked the incidents between Do and Harlan? She did. So, shortly before 10 a.m. Saturday, March 16, Harlan entered the store. Do observed Harlan putting a $1.79 bottle of orange juice in her backpack. Do concluded Harlan was attempting to steal and did not see the money Harlan's held in her hand. Do claimed to have asked Harlan if she intended to pay for the orange juice, to which Do claimed Harlan's responded, "What orange juice?" Okay. Now, 2 eyewitnesses, a 9-year-old Ishmael Ali and a 13-year-old sister, Lakeisha Combs, disputed that claim, saying that Do called Harlan a bitch and accused her for trying to steal, to which she claimed Harlan replied that she intended to pay for the orange juice. After speaking with the 2 eyewitnesses present and viewing the videotape of the incident recorded by the store camera, the police concluded that Harlan intended to pay for the beverage with money in her hand. The videotape showed that Do grabbed Harlan by her sweater and snatched her backpack. Harlan then struck Do with her fist twice, knocking Do down to the ground. After Harlan backed away, Do angrily threw a stool at her. Harlan then picked up the orange juice bottle that dropped during the scuffle. Do snatched the bottle from her and Harlan turned to leave. Do reached under her counter, retrieved the revolver, and fired at Harlan behind a distance of about 3 feet. The gunshot struck Harlan in the back of the head, killing her instantly. Do's husband, Billy Yong-ki-do, heard the gunshot and rushed to the store. After speaking to his wife, who asked for the whereabouts of Harlan before fainting, he dialed 911 to report an attempted uphold. And that sparked 2,200 Asian stores being destroyed. The little girl had the money in her hand. So let's look at the effects. The incidents and reduced sentencing by the court exacerbated the existing tension between African-American residents and Asian-American merchants in LA. Now, the tensions were later interpreted by some members of the public activists as being a catalyst of the 92 riots. LA Mayor estimated that 65% of all business vandalized during the riots were Korean-owned. The 17th of April in 91, Do was awaiting trial. A small fire occurred at the store. During 92 riots, Do's store was looted and burned down, and it never reopened. The property later became a market under different ownership. Latasha Harlins is buried next to her mother in Paradise Memorial Park. We'll stay there. Sean, where are you going with this? So let's look at the offices of juvenile justice and delinquency prevention. We're going to look at statistical law enforcement, and juvenile crimes. This is juvenile, okay? In all offenses, all races, you have 10 million cases. You got 7 million white, almost 3 million black, 250,000 American Indians, and 150,000 or 160,000 Asians. The charges all follow. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter, 150 for Asians. Blacks is 5,000, almost 5,700. All right. Robbery, 39,000 for blacks, 1,100 for Asians. Aggravated assault, 128,000, 9,200. Burglary, almost 50,000 to 2,600. Larceny, almost a quarter million to 12,000. Motor vehicle, 23,000 to 1,300. Right? Now, these are statistics as of 2019. What am I trying to show is there's clearly a disparity difference between blacks and Asians in America. That comes from opportunity. They have more opportunity. There's less crime in their areas. Like I said, they came from Korea and they established businesses. So they had the whereabouts. You know, not only just Korea, they also came from China. They also came from Japan. They also came from other Asian groups, and they all don't see each other the same. They don't. They don't see each other the same. The Chinese don't think anything of the Japanese, and vice versa. The Koreans don't think anything of the Chinese, and vice versa. So the actual problem here is the inner minority and the systemic racism that exists. So the struggle for Black people in America and Asians, even at that time, are totally different. I'm not framing my argument from a previous conversation that I had because I have a lot of information already compiled. I'm just giving you an opportunity to speak. Like I said, all this data is in here. This is in here in the description. Let's move on. So let's go to William and Mary Journal of Race, Gender, and Social Justice, a 63-page article regarding violent state Black women's invisible struggle against police violence. I'm specifically pulling this up for a reason. This deals with Black women. Hey, Tyson. Yo, you sniffling? Ain't no sniffling, and don't be chewing on my cord. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Come on. Just sleep, yo. There you go. Chill out. All right, so as you can see right here in the introduction, from a historical view, you're dealing with the stereotypes about Black women. All right, you're dealing with the Black women and murdered and assaulted by police. You're dealing with rape, sexually assaulted by police. You're dealing with police and Black women who have been victims of domestic violence. I put this in the chat. I don't want to give you everything, but I'm just trying to introduce information to people. See, when you claim to represent science, you have to be ready to move information forward. It requires you to know and to do. So you have to apply the information that you actually learn. And in order to be scientific, you have to move the information forward. So let's do that. Now, the theme of this special issue, Women in Law Enforcement, is particularly timely. Incidents of police brutality have reached a new level of public visibility. Let me zoom in a little bit. I know y'all can't see this on the YouTube side, so let me get you right. All right, there we go. You should be able to see this. All right. Now, incidents of police brutality have reached a new level of public visibility. Though not everyone agrees on whether the use of violence by police is inappropriate, conversations about police violence are occurring everywhere. An exploration of this topic of women in law enforcement would not be complete without at least one article that puts Black women at the center of the lens of analysis. Where am I going with this? Sandra Bland. I'm going to skip on down and I'm going to deal with this word you continue to see in this article. This article is about law enforcement's violence toward Black women specifically. The reader should not feel to be substitute the phrase women of color, where Black women has been written. The article is not about women of color. For decades now, mainstream feminists have attempted to discuss violence against women while relegating the experiences of Asian women, Native American women, Latinos, and Black women in a category called women of color. Scholarship describes the experience of white women as normative. All other women experiences are subsumed in those. For over 20 years now, the data, when you can find data specifically about non-white women, consistently shows the communities of non-white women do experience violence both at the hands of the state as well as at the hands of their intimates, but the violence manifests differently in each community. Intuitively, that would make sense as the women in all communities are viewed through the stereotypical lenses created by whites for each ethnic racial community. The lumping of their experiences into a homogenized category masks the complexity of violence in each community and renders differences between the communities invisible. Black women have very specific history with the state. Yeah, hold up. My bad, y'all. My man's just messing with my cell phone. All right, there we go. Okay, so Black women's interaction with the state through law enforcement is marked by violence. Black women are murdered by the police. They are assaulted and injured by the police. They are arrested unlawfully by the police. And finally, they are tried, convicted, and incarcerated for defending themselves against non-police violence. State violence against Black women is long-standing, pervasive, persistent, and multi-layered, yet few legal actors seem to care about it. This article will bring together the strands of scholarship that exist across several fields of the dilemma of the state-sponsored violence against Black women to highlight for legal scholars the depth of the problems Black women's experience. The relationship between Black women and the state was birthed in violence through the establishment of slavery in the colonial world. Part 1 of this article explores the historical roots of Black women's interaction with the state. The historical exploration is necessary because the foundational years of interaction between Black women and white colonists, the process of dehumanization and genesis of cultural stereotypes were created. You're not going to out-research me. You're not going to out-read. You're not going to do any of that. I dare you to take the stance to the research question. Sorry, I'm speaking specifically to two people in mind. Throughout the research cited in this article, contemporary linkages to both legal policy as well as law enforcement behavior will be made to stereotypes fostered and maintained through slavery. See, Black women are subjected to every type of law enforcement violence imaginable. The most severe violence causes death. But Black women are routinely brutalized by police in ways that do not cause death. I'm going to stop right here for a second. They get ready to get into the Black Lives Movement. But do you not remember police brutality when they slammed a teenager on her head? Do you not remember police pulling women from their cars, slamming them face down on their face? With them being handcuffed, harassed tremendously. And what our punk asses do as men, we stood by and watched as they punch women in the face. Black women, not Korean women, not Asian women, not Native American women, not white women, Black. So I introduce into the argument a William and Mary Journal of Women and the Law. Now you come be a pacifist if you want to. But I'm gonna leave this right here because this will ruffle your feathers. Yeah, you listening. I know you listening. You just ain't commenting in the chat. So let me move on. I'm going to go to Michigan Journal of Race and Law. You think it's going to stop there? I read. And then I turn around and I got books. You're not going to send me a bunch of YouTube links. You're not going to try to find you're not going to go on Google and find your way around this argument to try to justify Asian hate. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. You called me a minimizer. You made several claims and touted claims at me for things that I didn't say. See, I didn't take it personal. I just like information. So I'm going to keep it scholarship. I want you to prove your claims. Every single claim you made, from anecdotal to all the more other terms that you wanted to use that you just learned, prove it. Prove it. You don't want to go to war with somebody who is willing to go further than you. It's about research methodology with me. It's about the scientific method. I am being very scientific because I want to move our people forward. I'm not an all people matters type of person. I'm not. I don't diminish the existence of other people, and I do see color. But I'm not going to minimize my experiences in America to uplift, unite, or to proselytize someone else's experiences. Because we've been beat over the head way too long. To the point that we are now inclusive of our struggle. Civil rights exists not because of what Asians faced. You with me yet? Oh, don't run. Don't act like you ain't listening. You listening. Oh, you got the link. Oh, you see this video. Yeah, you might be driving around, huh? Atlanta traffic pretty busy. Oh, you might be working right now, right? Oh, okay. I got you. So, white collar crime, racialized police communications, and existing while black. Show me an incident in America where Asians were racially profiled, shot and killed in the streets, or Karen called the police on them. Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me? So over the past year, reports to the police about Black persons engaged in innocuous behaviors have bombarded the American consciousness. What do we make of them? And equally important, what are the consequences of such reports? This article is first to argue that the recent spike in calls to the police against Blacks who are simply existing must be understood as systemic phenomenon, which it dubs racialized police communication. The label captures two related practices. First, racially motivated police reporting calls, complaints, or reports made when Black persons are engaged in behavior that would not have been read as suspicious or otherwise worthy of police involvement had they been white. Second, racially weaponized police reporting calls, complaints, and reports made against Blacks in an effort to capitalize on law enforcement mistreatment of Black persons on harm the victim because of their race. The contents are racialized police communications, context, motivations, and harms. In this, you have theorized racial police communications, identifying racial police communications, law enforcement as removal services, police as keeping Black people in their place, police as a tool of gentrification, the injuries of racialized police, communication segregative effects, all of these things. And then it goes to the physical effects, the psychological effects and trauma, the mosaic harms of racialized police communications, which exist. This is the reason why the Black sister 2 days ago yelled out Chinese mofos and they arrested her. along with all her other claims that she was spewing up in Chinatown. See, she was in New York. She was in Chinatown. Where is the black town? You know, where you can go and see nothing but established black businesses and, you know, have dinner there, chill out, hang out, shop there, you know, spend your money in that area. Where's that at? The black town. In every city in America, you will find what some people deem as a Chinatown or Little Mexico. But when you equate living in a specific area with certain black people, you get the ghetto, the projects, the hood. Don't play with me, yo. You playing with me. So, the summer 2018 saw a legion of white persons calling the police on black persons engaged in mundane activities. Black people had the authority summoned up for sipping it up at Starbucks, playing golf, eating at Waffle House, sleeping in university common rooms, eating in university classrooms, making purchases, returning purchases, smoking cigarettes, moving into apartments, leaving apartments, going for walks, doing their jobs, eating in restaurants, barbecuing, going to the gym, attending funerals, using too many of the wrong coupons, swimming in pools, playing basketball, canvassing political re-election campaigns, doing community service, mowing the lawns, sheltering from the rain, getting in the cars, sitting in the cars, not listening to a neighbor's problems, walking their dogs, wearing costumes, wearing a bandana, selling bottled water on a hot summer's day. The number of such reports has grown since then. Every last one of those incidences that was just named happened. They called the police. But wait a minute. Like the innocuous behavior triggering these reports of lawful enforcement, the consequences of these calls were very widely. Some concluded constructively, such as one made by Starbucks. Everything cool, bro. Everything cool. You ain't got to go down there. Everything cool. All right. Some concluded constructively, such as the one at Starbucks, employee which ended in implicit bias training for the company's employee nationwide. Y'all remember the Starbucks situation where the brothers were sitting in there, right? Right? They was just in there chilling, right? Doing their thing, right? They were handling business in Starbucks, right? Like other people were in there handling business in Starbucks. But yet the police was called on them. Oh, let's go. Let's continue the conversation. Other reports end fatally as the dyadic deaths of Tamir Rice and Jonathan Crawford III, both killed as a result of calls to the police, demonstrated. Now, what remains constant, however, is that those who make such reports are rarely, if ever, face legal consequences for their actions. And despite the increasing urgency and awareness of such reports, they have received little attention in legal scholarship. Oh, that word again. Scholarship. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you listening. I know you listening. Both of you. I know y'all listening. See, this word frightens you. Scholarship. Because in order to be scientific and move our people forward, we have to promote scholarship. We have to stand on something that requires sound research methodologies. You trying to poke holes in something ain't gonna work because the evidence is outweighing your claim. See, you made claims against me and you can't demonstrate those claims effectively to prove that you're right. And then you want me to relate to something. What am I relating to? And for what reason? You don't have a sound argument because the evidence doesn't weigh. We have a history of being demonstrated against, right? And what I mean by demonstrated against is hatefully. We have this discrimination down to a science, bro. They use characters, blackface. They called you monkey. They disrespected you on billboards. They didn't give you job opportunities. They created a living situation called the projects. They removed the father from the home. They separated it. They created a jail system. Yeah, that's my phone, yo. It's cool. It's cool. It's just Are we serious right now? And then you say that I'm minimizing the struggles of Asian Americans. How? I'm just recognizing the struggles that we still face as a Black person in America that has not been resolved. How could I solve Asian hate when Black hate ain't been solved? They don't even get the liberties and the justices for all without the Black problem. What are we talking about? Oh, science is moving in a way to whereas, they're all going to resolve these issues on its own. That's what this one author says in this book. You should read it. Are you exactly, Tyson? Some straight up bull crap. And you were just born in January and you knew it's bull crap. But I'm not going to read this whole thing. I don't want to bore anybody. I am speaking specifically to a foundational argument that I am going to put to rest. Step your ass up. Enough playing games. Enough asking questions and then not being able to answer any. Enough throwing rocks and hiding your hands. Bring the scholarship out. Put the presentation together. Make your argument on why we should sympathize with the Asian hate stuff. Bring it. Bring it. What do the Asians do for us to deserve our help? What do? We support their businesses. We even tattoo Chinese and Japanese writing on our bodies, right? We identify with certain cultural nuances that they have and they possess. We identify with those because we respect those, right? We don't look at them and call them certain things. Now the sister did, but she was still up there and she still was going to eat Chinese food, which we eat. We still go to their markets and purchase some of their goods and services, which we do. They're in the middle of our hood, so we go shop at their local bodegas, which we will. Why? Because it's convenient for us to do that. We don't have a Black-owned gas station or grocery stores like that to where we can go up in there and support our own. And even if we did, some of you wouldn't even do it. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm in Atlanta. That's all I see around me. Come on. Come on. Let's move on. The NYPD cop tape making racial slur about Black man after stop and frisk. This was published in 2011. I went backwards for this for a reason, because he wasn't arrested and charged with anything. I fried another nigger, Officer Michael Dorighetti said, who's the NYPD for 8 years. This is New York, yo, for 8 years. Said in a conversation with a friend after his phone call tapped, another nigger fried. No big deal. No big deal. Just a nigger. This is the mindset of the police department in New York. The same police department that just arrested the sister for saying Chinese motherfucker. Called for backup. Right. Right, Tyson. Straight bull. But it happened. Oh, yeah, he listening because Aunt calling me. They listening. You getting the point. I know you don't want to chat or say nothing in there, but it's about scholarship, right? It's about advancing people forward. Let's continue it. Let's do it real big. I'm not even going to get into the rest of this because you know where I'm going. I'm going to hit you up with another article. Let's read online. Shall we? Why you biting my finger, yo? You teething. I ain't gonna read all of this, but of course it's in the description. Okay? It said the title of this is What's Wrong with the Niggers and Why Are They So Mad at the Police? Probable cause for disaster in South Central LA 1992 from Police 187. Now, he says, what's wrong with the niggas and why they are so mad at the police? Probable cause of disaster. It's one of the chapters in a book which I call Police 187, the call letters for murder in police jargon. My input was slight in this taped interviews, and I considered the enclosed stories to be Black stories. I worked with Melvin Johnson, my Black co-author from 75 to 1980 on the tape, and he dictated a mountain of stories with the continuator being his passage through our society in Los Angeles as criminal dissenter. From my contact with him, which ended temporarily when I entered law school in LA in 1981, I called from there, where we've moved in 1988, when my wife got a job at the Art Center while the spring riots were taking place in April through May in 92. He and his family were okay. I called him again shortly after to set up a time to come visit him so I could get information firsthand from him about the riots. I interviewed him for a 2-hour session, and then he set up a 4-hour interview with the Crips and the Bloods, current members of some past ones, and one's member wife. I submitted the excerpt stories as stories told by Black men and women in 1982. This is one of the most potent expositions by gang members about what it means to exist in South Central without the benefit of legal probable cause, arrest, search, and seizure. I preface the excerpt for definition for the Black Law Dictionary so the reader can see what it meant legally by probable cause, etc. I devised the ironic title, which I thought fit the white community's response to the cause of the riot. Probable cause is reasonable cause, an apparent state of facts found to exist upon reasonable inquiry, which would induce a reasonably intelligent and prudent man or woman to believe in a criminal case that the accused person had committed the crime charged. Reasonable grounds for belief that a person should be arrested or searched. Probable cause exists where the facts and circumstances would warrant a person's reasonable caution to believe that an offense was or is being committed. I ain't got to go too far. Mere suspicion or belief unsupported by facts and circumstances is insufficient. Probable cause for search and seizure with or without any warrant involves probabilities, which are not technical, but factual and practical considerations of everyday life upon which reasonable and prudent men or women act, in essence of probable cause and reasonable grounds for belief of guilt. So what's basically wrong? I asked at the table. Why do you hate the police so much? It is so much, 30,000 said. They've stuck guns in my mouth. Breeze said, in your mouth? Yeah. They done took me out my area, took me somewhere else, finna shoot me. Different type of police come up while they tell you to take off and run, which Rodney King said they said to him and called him a nigger. Go to the same way as the Bloods. I'm a Crip. This is how they did that to me. 30,000 said, I'm a young Black man, right? Right. And I'm in with today's gang style. Blood, Red Tam, and Cravat. I'm in my neighborhood. Police officers came to my neighborhood, seen me with a beer, handcuffed me, put me in their car, took me to another enemy neighborhood, and put me out and said, hey, Blood, and later Blood, and left. And now they got me with all these other blue Crip niggas here looking at me like, what's this nigga? You know, what's really going on? And I got to find a way to get out of here. Now, you know how it is. I can well imagine, I said. How long has this been going on? It's all around, 30,000 said. See, Breeze? The police, they got to come back to being police. They got to come, right? I mean, you can't even enjoy yourself nowadays. Like, we was coming from the beach. I got 5 babies in the car with me. All of them sleep rolling down the street. Police pulled my brother over up in the car ahead of us. So I just pulled over in the back and waited. The police who pulled him over called backup because there were 3 more cars of us sitting back waiting to see if they gonna take him to jail or let him go. Instead, they called backup, and backup came and said, get out of the car. They came out of nowhere. All of you? No, only me and the kids. But they got me out of the car, holding the gun, hollering, get out of the car. I said nothing in there but babies. Jesus Christ. Each one, my daughter got out shaking, and they got out big shotguns on her and a pistol. Here come the other little kid. He don't know no better. He runs up and touched the police, you know. But I'm just saying they could have triggered him off. But what I did, I stood in front of him and I told them, shoot me. Don't aim that at my daughter. And he arrested me for interfering with an officer while on duty and took me down to Harbor Jail. I don't want to continue this interview. Show me where this happened to Asians. Just show me. Show me all the discriminatory factors that you actually have to lay your argument out for me to recognize Asian hate first. I can't relate because I support their businesses. I have no problems communicating with them. When I see them, I don't see a problem speaking to them. They turn their heads and go the other way. They plotting and talking in all kind of other languages and codes against me. But I still don't have no problem spending my money in their communities. I'm being discriminated against by all people. All. Hell, in some cases, even some African countries. What are we talking about here? Stop the Asian hate. You gotta stop the black hate first, because incidences like this 1992 interview are still happening today. Except for they going further. They shooting us in the street. Ask Michael Brown walking down his block. They shooting us in the street. Just deal with it. Go to New Orleans and look. What about what's his name? Alden, the brother from Mississippi? I mean, not Mississippi. Minnesota. The brother sitting in his car reaching for his license. He told him that he had a gun on him and everything. All he doing was reaching for his license. The officer could see, but the officer, I'm scared. Remember that? Their whole argument is about, I'm scared. I fear for my life, so I shot him so I can make it home. Show me this happening to Asians. Show me where they had to create laws, man. Show me where they had to create a civil rights movement for them. Where were they? No matter how small, no matter how many there were, where were they? Where were they during the March on Washington? Where were they? Where were they when we hung from trees? Where were they? Where were they when we were in the swamps running for our lives? Where were they? When we got off the ships, where were they? Don't play with me. I'm not minimizing their struggles. You're minimizing mine. So I ask you again, in a very scholastic manner, to present your argument. We would like to see your slides. We would like to see your sources. We would like to see any video evidence that you have. You can bring to us these brand new 2021 Asians for Black websites. You can do that, right? Because it took a white boy who was insanely had a sexual problem to shoot up a bar that he continued to attend because, maybe he didn't like the hand job he got the last time. Who knows? But he did that. We didn't do that. And now all of a sudden that becomes bigger than us? Oh, because the sister called them Chinese mofo. That was bigger than us, right? Right? I'm waiting. I'm going to stop right here. I see we got people in the building. My dog is biting my fingers apart. Give me a second because I think Unc is really trying to get on the show. And I just want to, I want to see what he has to say. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this dude done left me a voicemail. Let me see what he say on the voicemail, yo. Stop, dude. Oh, he did that by accident. All right, so I ain't even laid my argument out. There is a research question that was posed. We understand where we are in these circumstances. We look forward to seeing you guys be able to put together your argument. Then we'll deal with it in a scholastic manner. We'll see if we can move the community forward with a proper understanding of what the totality of both sides of the argument consist of. If not, then, you know, hey, we can drop it and let it go and we can move on. It's no big deal. I love everybody. I don't have no issue. But you know what I'm saying? I take scholarship seriously and I uphold, and I'm very African-centered. You can call me a blackologist. I don't care. I'll be that. For the sanctity of my people, I'll be that. Whatever you want to call. If you want to say blackologist, if you want to say straw man, if you want to say all the things that you were saying, oh, you're using anecdotal arguments, or if you what was the other words you was using? Any of them things that you were claiming in the back that you kept tying my name to. Any of those things. You can say all of those things. I'll be all of those things. But you got to demonstrate that. Cause I ain't gonna let you out live that down. Straight up and down. Boy, you teasing. I'm trying to massage your gums, man. You keep on wanting to bite me. Things getting sharp. Where your toothbrush? I need to get your toothbrush. Maybe that'll help. You need some oral gel. So that's the problem. Is you can't be African-centered. You can't be black first. You're a blackologist if you say that, Sabio. You can't be black first. You got to be all people, all humanity. All humanity matters. Where Fitz at? Where you at, Fitz? I know you listening. Where you at? I'm calling you out. Where you at? Because Fitz has a different experience with Asians than we do in Americas because they said they got something going on in the UK. So I want to see what Fitz had to say regarding his experiences with them in the UK. I know it doesn't equate to what we experience here in America because they actually don't like us, right? They don't like us so much so that we can't even be with their women. And if we are with their women, you know what they do? They will disown their child, their children. So how many people of you have had sex with an Asian person? Can you put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had sex with an Asian person? And if so, how many? If they are Korean and black, that don't matter. If they Chinese and black, nope, that don't matter either. If they Japanese and black, nope, that don't matter either. Vietnamese and black, nope, don't matter. How many of you have had a relationship with an Asian person? By the way, everything is everything. I got something that I need to give you. I'm glad I see you right there because I wasn't paying attention, but I need to let me drop this in the chat. I got something to give you. This is for your homeboy. This is a little off subject, but I want to make sure that you get this. Boom. All the articles too long. But the Washington Post dropped an article today regarding ivermectin, right? And I can't put it in the chat because the thing too. Boy, stop! You biting me. Yeah, it's way too long. But anyway, the doctor said it's like the new hydroxychloroquine. Angela Rossaman said she's a virologist. She says at Georgetown University. She says referring to the malaria drug pushed by Donald Trump that proved ineffective against COVID-19. It would be great if ivermectin did work. It's been around for years and it's cheap. But to my knowledge, there is no data that suggests it's good for COVID-19. You can look at Washington Post on ivermectin and they'll give you that. Do coolly count. Shit. So I sent the link to but I don't think he joined, yo. So what I'm gonna do, Sean about to write a Papal Bull on it. Yep. Well, I can write, but they're not going to write. I don't anticipate them to write, and I don't want them to write. That's too much time out of their day to write. But what I do want to see, then I do want to see a demonstration. I want them to source up and teach. I want them to like actually teach, like present some information regarding their arguments, and let's hit them out and let's review the evidence. I'm not going to say anything about it. And then if I counter it, they may want to see me do something so they can kind of critique it without even actually doing anything. What up, Lamar? I hear my dog. Boy going crazy right now. Teed and bad. Hold on, let me get your chew toy, because you keep on trying to bite my thumb. Well, actually my fingernail, because you like it. You want to wrestle. See? Here. Nope. Here, man. Get your chew toy. There you go. There you go. There you go. Now move out my way. Let me cook. I'm cooking right now. You interrupting my meal. Okay, so I don't have listen, we're not all supposed to agree. We're supposed to disagree. But where we disagree at, the information should speak volumes for us. Meaning that you lay your argument out, I lay my argument out, and it's not hearsay, it's not freestyle, it's not from the dome. It is scholastic laid out. And then we leave it for the people to make an informed decision, because they will have all the information, the pros and the cons, the for and against. They get the argument on both sides. Now you've been scientific, you've committed an act of science on a community, right? And now you're upholding these people to deal with the information. Period. You can't claim what you can't make a straw man. You can't say any of these things. You can't do any of that. No, man. Here, you got to eat on this first. Because I'm done with you chewing on my finger. That's how you move scholarship forward. That's how you be scientific. That's how our people benefit. Our people can only benefit when we take up the mantle and do what it takes. Now, I ain't saying that you got to always do that, because it don't. I like people doing what they are already currently doing. I am an avid supporter for what everybody else does, because I realize that some people's lane is just that. But you have to realize, right? And anytime, notice, you have to realize that someday you got to step up and you got to show and prove. Because this is too serious to say, oh, I can go from the dome, or I can do this, or I can do that. No, it's bigger than that. You got a lot of information to get around. You got a whole bunch of hundreds of years to comb through. So if you need more time, just let me know. I'm all about them. I'm supportive. I ain't running nowhere. I like the topic, because you ain't gonna get around. Yeah, you gonna get around it. Stop, little boy. Oh, what time is it? Maybe that's why you acting like that. Outside the fact that you probably need to go outside. Yeah, you hungry. It's time to eat. All right. So look, on that note, yo, I'm out. This only an hour and 4 minutes. It's not long. You can go back and review this bill. You can share the show with friends and family or whoever else. It's titled "Stop the Black Hate" for a reason. Please watch it. Hear the argument. The sources are in the description. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all do your thing. Stay tuned. We might be later live.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisai Research Team. From Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisai Research Team. Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisai Research Team. One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Shun Kalfunny. Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisai. From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Shun Kalfunny. As I learned, we all learn by Kofi Paisai. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaitv.com.